Okay, we're now Parasha Beshalach, which is going to speak about the conversation with a soul. So that Beshalach is when Pharaoh sends out the Jews out of Egypt, and and after runs after them. Okay, let's read. The following is a pleasing mystical interpretation of the exodus from Egypt as an allusion to the departure of the soul from the body at death. Okay, so we understand from the way the Jews left Egypt how it's an allusion of what happens when the body leaves. The soul leaves the body at death. It's interesting because it's also in the previous Parasha Beshalach, the Arizal explains, or maybe Shemos, how going out of Egypt is also a process of birth. The 10 plagues is a contraction of the body, and we're going out of Egypt. Okay, so it says like that. When Pharaoh sent the Jewish people forth, this refers to when the soul departs the body. Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, is the neck, like we mentioned before, for the body is stubborn. Stubbornness rules over the body, which is Egypt. Egypt represents the body, right? The Jews are the soul. The soul is in the body. The Jews are in Egypt. Okay? Okay. The Hebrew word for Pharaoh is composed of the same letters as the word for the neck, like we said before. The idiom for stubborn in Hebrew is stiff neck, right? If someone is stubborn, is stiff neck. The body may be derived as stubborn since it insists on imposing its gross material perspective on the soul. Egypt means constrictions, because Egypt means meitzar, narrow. It constricts the soul. The soul is not free; it's constricted by the laws of the body. Since it limits the power of the soul to those of this world, forcing it to conceive of everything in terms of time and place. So God hardened the heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and he pursued the children of Israel. So what does that mean? When the soul leaves the body, the powers of the evil inclination set out to chase the soul in order to harm it. This is because the evil inclination is also the accusing angel. So remember, he kicks them out, but he runs after them, right? Mm-hmm. Right? With the chariots, 400 chariots, he runs after them. Now, it's very interesting, 400 chariots. I don't know if you can think about it, but 400 chariots, 400, they say it's like, it represents material. 400 is materiality. It represents cash. And in different books, it speaks materiality. So it's like the materiality is running after you. After taking the soul from the body, it pursues it in order to harm it and take vengeance on it. As the sages have said, the evil inclination, the Yetzirah, the angel of death, and the accusing angel are all one, right? Satan, Yetzirah, Malach HaMaves, all sorts is all one and the same thing. So, and then it says that the Pharaoh was pursuing them, right? He started pursuing them. It says, and it says he overtook them while they were camping by the sea. So you have all the Jews camping by the sea, and now Pharaoh is. Okay. So the sea refers to purgatory, known as the river of fire. What do we do when we need to kosher things? We boil water. What do we do when we need to toivel the new right? So we dip it in water, new objects, for food. And what do we do when we need to go to purify ourselves? We need or men, whatever, you go in the mikvah, right? So water is, there's two types of water. There's the water and water of fire, right? That's why, too much. When the soul leaves the body, it must first be purged of the existential crust of materialism and negativity it acquired during its stay in the physical world. Only then can it proceed to experience the pure spirituality of paradise. We were in Egypt. We were in the body. We were affected by Egypt. We're in America. We're affected by the way American society makes us think. And the goal is to try to stay pure, not to be affected by the way society wants us to think. And the more pure we are, the more connected we are to Hashem, the less we are prone to things and the less Gehinnom we have. Again, Gehinnom is not a bad place. It's a place of purification to get rid of what's not soul-like, what's not spiritual. So I can go up. So Then it says, as Pharaoh drew near. Why? To give the soul over to the agents of damage and inflictors of pain to torture them. Again, torture here, it's a cleansing process. We're not talking about with the with the pitchfork and what I mean, there's a certain level of pain, but it's a spiritual pain. It's not like the children of Israel raised their eyes and caught sight of the Egyptians advancing at their rear, and they became very frightened. So the children of Israel cried out to God. In order for the soul to be purified of its worldly material crust, it must be made to experience the extent to which this materialism is antithetical to truth and spirituality. This is an agonizing, torturous awakening. Meaning, when you die, you enter into the real world. And in the real world, you know, they say, what's the first question they ask you when you go there? What's your name? That's why I say you should, after the Shemona Esrei, at the very end, you should say the verse that corresponds to your name in Hebrew. Because when you're going to die, they're going to ask you what's your name. And the verse, if you repeat it, it's going to give you, make you remember your name. What does that mean? It's not a magical thing. It's not just saying it that it's going to help. What helps that your name is your mission. You are here, your name is Michael, Gabriel, whatever name it is. It's here because you have a specific mission. If you come out of Egypt, if you come out of this body, out of the world, and you fulfill your mission, say, what's your name? Dr. Gutmacher. Doctor, we don't need doctors in heaven. What did you do on earth? I was a doctor. Okay, very nice, but that's not the mission, what you were created for. So who are you? Doctor, right? You have to define. Now you can be a doctor, it's fine, guys, you can be doctors. But if you didn't live based on what you were supposed to do in this earth, when they're going to ask you who you are, you're not going to remember your name. Remembering your name means remember your mission, what you are here for. So when you're going to realize, I was supposed to be this, I could accomplish this, and look at what I've become, this is the part that is the purification. You see, oh my gosh, I missed it. I messed it up. I could have been much greater. I didn't become me. I became an American doctor. I became, a French actor, Bukharian dancer, right? So anyway, you can do all that, but you have to make sure you're connected. A Persian singer. You have to make sure you have to connect it to your strength and to your mission. As long you can be a dancer or anything, as long as it connects you to God, as long as it fixes you, it fixes the world around. Okay, this goes according to halacha, of course. Okay. The main thing is, am I coming close to God when I do what I'm doing? They say to Moshe, so the Jews say to Moshe, which means the soul says to the good inclination. Moshe represents the good inclination. Was it for want of graves in Egypt that you brought us to die in the desert? Right? They come to Moshe, look, you brought us here, and now the Egyptians are going to kill us, and that's it, they want to be engraved in Egypt. What's the whole point? So he explains, now that you see all this pain and suffering, these powers of evil are inflicted upon me, these what we call chibut hakever, the battering in the grave, right? Was it not enough pain that I had to be buried and suffer inside the body and constrictions of the physical world? I must now experience as well the pain of this grave. This refers to how the soul is battered inside the grave. And I've been taken to die again in the desert, which means in the purgatory. Desert is like a purgatory. The desolate abode of the forces of evil. Here is where vengeance is extracted from the soul. The soul refers to its birth into a physical body as being buried inside a grave. Death is not seen as a cessation of existence, but rather as a descent from one spiritual level to a lower one. It is enough, the soul complains, that I had to live a full life in the grave of the body, right? We're like dead here, we're not completely alive, so to speak. Why must I suffer further? You know, when you're a baby in the womb, and the baby now is about to come out, what usually happens with the baby?
Ribs upside down.
Yeah, I mean, as it's coming out, like it's so warm and cozy, and now I'm going out of the womb, and it's cold, and people all around, and I can't feel, like I was. I don't hear the heartbeat of my mother. Now, like, in the world, the baby is not happy when it comes out of the womb. You can see it. Right? I mean, you saw a baby coming out of the womb. After, it's crying. Okay. Anyway, most baby cries when it comes out of the womb. And it refers a bit to that. I was in a good place. I was already in a kind of restricted area. I now have to go through that process again. So it's it goes both ways. So every death is a birth of something else. Every birth is a death of something else. Right? It goes, death and birth is almost the same thing. It goes through the same process.
Anatomically, like the baby has to die before it breathes again.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's very nice.
What is it?
Dr. Rabbi Tetz discusses it, that the conditions within the mother's womb and the conditions outside the mother's womb are completely opposite conditions. That the way the body of the baby is built within the womb can't exist outside the womb, because the lungs aren't working.
Okay.
Because there's a pulmonary, there's an umbilical vein, which is pumping oxygen. So the lungs aren't working. The baby's out. The lungs aren't working. Nothing's really working. It's suffocating. It's dying. But the point at which it's almost dead is the point at which everything constricts, and then the lungs are pumped open, and it starts breathing, and that's the point at which it starts crying. It's like a new process begins.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's cool.
I love Hashem. Okay. So the soul, the image of the soul being battered in the grave refers to how it is existentially shaken of its materialistic incrustation as above. And it's interesting because although the mother, even more before, is in death danger, as she gives life, she's almost in death danger, right? Today we're much less, Baruch Hashem, because it's a different way and it's a different world, and also we're fixing the world, it's getting more life. But it's so interesting how it worked. And in Gan Eden, there was no such a thing. The Jews, Adam and Chava didn't feel any pain. It would just come out like that. On the same day, it was fully grown. It was coming out. There was no pain, nothing. There was no process to go through, to speak. Everything came almost already completely ready, because the world was much more perfected. So what is that you have done to us, taking us out of Egypt? Is this not the very thing we spoke to you about in Egypt, saying, leave us alone and let us serve the Egyptians? Well, that's what the Jews are saying to Pharaoh. For it will have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die in the desert. Translating, paraphrasing, it was better for me in the body. I may as well have submitted to the evil inclination in the physical world. At least then I will not be suffering the pain I am suffering now. By being shown the truth and the splendor of spirituality, the soul is rudely awakened to the triviality of all the things the body convinced it to be important in this world. This realization of the futility and emptiness of the material life of the physical world is more painful than any pain that can be experienced in the physical world itself. Right? It's on the level of the intellect, level of the soul. And we are created here. That's our challenge. Our challenge is not to be distracted. And essentially that's what Pharaoh was. You know what Pharaoh says? The Messiah Yisrael explains. Pharaoh, what was his job? Make them work, keep them busy, so that they don't have time to think. And today we understand that very, very well. Like fast food, easy pass, like everything is very quick. Internet, everybody's ADHD, right? We're no time. One takes one thing. Oh, Davin, I don't have time. I have to answer. Right? Email, Twitter, like it is bombarded. Radio, news, things everywhere. It's like, whoa, if we didn't have Shabbat, we'll be swallowed up by this world. You don't think. You can think. You can pray. You can think of Hashem. You start praying. You already 30,000 thoughts came into your mind on the first word, right? That's what power was doing. He says, we're like horses, just running. Don't see anything, just like the thing like that, the horse, and that's the danger. That's the danger of this world. The opposite is true of the tzaddik. He yearns for death from this world in order to go on to live in the world of truth. As the sages say, against your will you are born, and against your will you will live. But Moshe said to the people, have no fear. I know he said exactly like that, but something. The good inclination tells the soul, have no fear of this punishment, for it is for your own good. Through it you will be rid of these inflictors of pain and be spared of the ordeal of purgatory. All the powers of impurity will remain there in this sea, the river of fire. It's really when we go to rehab. It's the same thing. Go rehab, you have that thing in you, and it's very hard to get rid of it. So you go through different processes, and it hurts the body to get rid of the drugs or the alcohol or whatever addiction someone is in. You have to get rid of it little by little, and it's very painful. The process is painful, but you know it's for my own good. That process is painful, but it enables me to disconnect from that world I was in. So Moshe Rabbeinu continues, stand firm and witness the deliverance that God will perform for you today. By means of the purification process of purgatory, you will be cleansed of your sins. For the Egyptians whom you have seen today, you will never see again, for they will remain in purgatory. Right? It's just you're here temporarily. Toward the end of the night, God looked down upon the camp of the Egyptians with a pillar of fire and cloud. So at that moment, right, God sees they're coming, so he puts a pillar to protect the Jews from the Egyptians, so the Egyptians doesn't harm them. This refers to the descent of the soul to be judged in purgatory. When this is over, what happens? The Chumash says, he threw the camp of the Egyptian into confusion. That's when the Egyptian are actually coming. This refers to the powers of the evil inclination who are cast into the sea where they remain. Where were the Egyptians cast? In the sea. They were banned. All the forces of evil got destroyed in the purgatory, in the Kriyas Yam Suf, right? The Red Sea. What?
They were thrown on the shore eventually.
Yeah, I mean, it said they were thrown. I think he might speak about it. But the Israelites had walked on dry land in the midst of the sea, while the water formed a wall for them on the right and on the left. The word for wall is choma, which is written the same word for anger, chema. The powers of evil are angry as the soul departs purgatory, purified of its material dross. Don't know that one. So Moshe then caused the Israelites to set out from the Sea of Reeds, and they went out into the desert of Shur. They walked for 3 days in the desert without finding any water. They came to Marah, but they could not drink water at Marah, for the water was bitter. That was why the place was named Marah. Marah means bitter. Okay? So he says, after the soul departs purgatory, it starts for 3 days, since it spends 3 days without learning Torah. Because in the spiritual world, how does the soul get nourished? Torah. Torah is food. Now I always make the joke, you're hungry, you want to eat, you Torah. I can tell you, when I learn Torah with my rabbi, I'm not hungry. I can stay for hours learning, hungry. You just get fed. It gives you a spirit. How the Moshe Rabbeinu was 40 days, 40 nights in Har Sinai? He was being fed Torah. It's a spiritual food. If you have spiritual food, you need very, very little physical thing. You can survive for very long.
Is that where the fasting comes from when they drop the Torah?
The fasting? Oh, when we drop the Torah?
Yeah.
Oh,
Not when.
if it happened. It's probably why. I'm sure it's directly connected to that. It makes very much sense. The idea that we are lacking system, that is, we're not connected to the Torah, it makes very much sense. Yes, it's very good. Kabbala. See it? What is it? Okay. So Torah is the nourishment of the soul, enabling it to endure purgatory before entering paradise. the people complained against Moshe, saying, "What shall we drink? Since we have not learned any Torah, the Torah is a tree of life for those who hold fast to it." So God showed Moshe a tree. He threw it into the water, and the water became sweet. Right? That's what we read. It was there that he gave the people a statute and a law, and there he tested them. The good inclination, which is Moshe, shows the soul the reward awaiting in the world to come. The idiom statute and also means provision. The word for tested also means lifted up. Lifted up. As it is about to enter paradise, God prepares the soul by telling it that it is about to experience the true value of the mitzvot it performed while in the body. This sweetens the water of Torah, which it may have experienced as bitter deprivation in the physical world. So he said, if you diligently heed the voice of the Lord your God and do what is upright in his eyes, carefully listening to all his commandments and observing all his statutes, then none of the sicknesses that I brought on Egypt will I bring upon you, for I am God who heals you. God, by the way, the phrase when we say, Baruch Hashem Rofeh Chole Amo Yisrael, in the Shemona Esrei, comes to that, from that. God promises the soul that since it observed the Torah during its life in the physical world and underwent its purification process in purgatory, it will not longer experience any of the negativity and depression of evil, for it has been cured of all these. That's why it says someone who learns Torah and do all the mitzvot, it nourishes all his mitzvot, he cannot get sick. Like sick from natural, it's going to be. The only reason someone who is really a tzaddik will get sick is for a higher reason, like Yisur Hava, individuals who take responsibility for the rest of the Jewish people. That's an entire different level. So, in other words, the future tense of the verse should be read as past, since you diligently heeded the voice. Okay. Then they came to Elim. The Jews went to Elim, another city, where there were 12 springs of water and 70 date palms. And they encamped by the water. Miami Beach, in heaven. You know, when we think of, a paradise on earth, what we imagine coconut trees and where date palms, Miami, why we imagine that? That's where it comes from. Oasis. There are 12 rivers of pure spiritual water surrounding paradise, corresponding to the 12 tribes of Israel. Every soul of each tribe immersed in its respective river in order to be cooled off from the fire of purgatory and healed of its wounds. Jacuzzi. Jewish people. The real jacuzzi. They moved on from Elim, and then from Elim, the entire community of Israel came to the desert of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th of the second month after they had left Egypt. There, in the desert, the entire community of the Israelites complained against Moshe and Aaron. After all this, there is one more stage before the soul enters paradise. One more stage. It immerses again to be judged in the flame of the revolving sword, referred to here as the desert of Sin. Sin, hinted. Right? Anybody knows what the flame of the revolving sword comes from?
The heart?
It's Torah, no?
Yeah.
Because
Where does it mention that in the Torah?
the sword in Gan Eden, but also in I think in other Shir.
No.
But
In
Gan
Gan
Eden-
Eden,
We're talking about-
when God didn't want to let Adam to curse Gan Eden, he put something in the gate of Gan Eden that
Right.
doesn't let
The
him.
reason why Hashem took Adam out of Gan Eden was because he was afraid Adam will go back to Gan Eden and eat from the tree of life and live forever. Right? Eat from the Torah, so to speak, and live forever. So God took men out of Gan Eden, put two angels, and in front of the angels those swords that turns with fire, flames of fire. That's when when you saw the ark where you have the 10 Commandments in there.
Yeah.
You know how it looks. You have the ark and there's two angels on top of it.
Yes,
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah? No?
the two angels, the cherubim.
Baby angelic.
I show picture.
Never
Two.
seen it?
Um,
You have to watch Indiana Jones a bit more often.
It was Indiana Jones and.
Yeah, Indiana
what
Jones,
was it?
right? Indiana Jones, they have it.
Indiana Jones, it was the brother. Once he found the ark and he found the ark and blah blah blah. It shows an image of them.
I thought I had it here.
Cherubim, that's it.
What?
Cherubim.
The Purim, right? The two Purim. Okay, I thought I had a real picture of it. I'm sure I have it, but I have too many pictures here. I get lost with all those pictures.
What don't you have in here?
Yeah, like,
It's a book of pictures, right?
I should make an index with
For the pictures,
from the
right?
pictures and the charts,
Tabs.
arc or whatever.
That picture could be found in this page.
Ah, like that. Okay, yeah, the thing with the two angels on the top. So the two angels on top of the ark has the Torah inside, and the angels are the guardians of the path to the Torah. So that's why there's two angels on top of it. It represents Gan Eden. That if you want to go back to Gan Eden, you gotta do some kung fu, beat up the angel or samurai sword type of thing, beat up the angels and go back in. Because Hashem was expecting us to go back in to eat from tree of life, we're eternal. So that's what he's saying. In order to enter paradise, for the soul before entering paradise, paradise is Gan Eden, that's where we will live forever. You have to go through this. And then he's explaining now where Adam is going back to Gan Eden. But how do you get Gan Eden? There's flames and swords and all that. So now he has to go through that process.
so why did we fall again?
When?
After, like,
When we came out of Egypt?
Bet HaMikdash and all that stuff.
No, we forget
It's
we had the
always like
Chet
that.
Egel.
Right, but so, like, I'm in Gan Eden already, right? I have to go through this
Who is in
more
Gan Eden?
suffering.
Who is Gan Eden?
Like, the nation of Israel was in a state of
When they received the Torah.
prophecy after the splitting of the sea.
Right,
But then they made the Chet Egel and all these things, and, like, they're suffering more,
right.
aren't they?
No, that whole process was purification, and they arrived in Gan Eden. They were there at Mahar Sinai. They were they were
Rabbi,
But weren't
Rabbi,
they suffering?
the filming of the
not anymore. They were suffering until they reached Har Sinai. At Har Sinai, they were not suffering anymore.
They
That
were
was the
healed.
last process. Was there in the desert of Sin. That's the last step of where they were suffering. They were getting ready for Har Sinai to become back. And at Har Sinai, when they received the Torah, they became like Adam Arishon. They were immortal. They were back to Gan Eden. He's telling you exactly what happened.
So they achieved the highest spiritual level at that point.
Right.
So
Yes.
then why? Oh, for the entire world. Yeah.
Rabbi,
If they would not have sinned, they would have been the prophets of all the whole world. The whole world had heard that God had given the Torah, and will have been finished. The world have been we have been go to Israel. Moshe will have been Moshiach, and all the non-Jewish nation will have come and will live on the level of Moshiach with everybody. But we did the Chet Egel.
But that was purposeful.
Yes or no? I mean, we still have free choice. But that point where we were at Har Sinai was a test, like Adam and Eve in Gan Eden, right?
Okay.
Everything is realignment, so you have to understand
Yeah,
there was still
okay.
something.
when this filming revolving sword happened,
We all
I know before Hasina, but when? After my Megillah? What was after my Megillah? When was
Memira,
that?
we went to
We went to seven
They were
wells.
to Mara. You mean to Mara?
After Mara is 7 wells, alright?
So it says, set out to the Sea of Reeds, and they went out in the desert of Shur. They walked 3 days into the desert without finding water, and they came to Mara. And then they...
So what was the
Right,
flaming sword? Was Mara?
What?
No, it wasn't Mara.
That what?
The flame of the revolving sword wasn't Mara.
No. That's what in Elim and Sinai. They went to Elim and the desert of... Between Elim and Sinai.
So after Mara they went to Elim?
To the desert
Right
of
after
Sin.
Mara?
To the desert of Sin. To the desert of Sin.
I know it takes 49 days for them to get to Har Sinai.
Right.
But were
So
they had it Sinai or they were in Elim? I mean,
Right,
Har
no-
Zin.
Is
Very,
that
very,
where
very
the-
big.
Is that where the Omer comes from?
49 days of... Yeah. The Omer is 49 days between Pesach and Shavuot is us ability to go to Har Sinai, yeah. Okay, if you bear with me, in 5 minutes we can finish that part, okay? Let's try to go a bit fast and finish that part. So he explained very quickly. Then when Adam and Eve were banished from paradise, God placed the flame of the revolving sword at the entrance to guard it. This purifying fire is a much more subtle one than the purgatory, and is necessary in order to remove the subtle materialism that still remains after the primary purification accomplished there. This may be compared to the two stages of circumcision. After removing the thick foreskin, the thin mucous membrane must be peeled back as well. Neglecting to do this invalidates the circumcision. Similarly, in the circumcision of the heart, there are two stages as well. And let's remember the circumcision, the reason this circumcision is to that the Jew took upon himself the idea that I'm not going to be connected to the physicality. I'm removing this kind of unnecessary physicality, right? Because it's unnecessary skin. I'm removing that physicality from me in order to stay pure, so my soul stay intact, not affected by the things. Obviously, it's more vulnerable, but it's more pure. The Israelites said to them, "If only we had died by the hand of God in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the flesh pots and ate our fill of bread. But you have taken us out to this desert to starve this entire congregation to death." Right? That's how they complain. The soul complains about this more subtle punishment as well, but it undergoes it, and when it passes this stage and wants to enter paradise, God tells it, "I am going to rain down bread for you from the sky." What's that?
Man.
The man. Here in paradise, you will eat a lot of the bread of the Torah that you studied while you were in that world. This Torah is the nourishment of the soul. It is the 248 limbs and 365 sinews of the soul, which are the 613 mitzvot that form the soul's garment. The Torah itself, as distinct from the mitzvot, is the soul's nourishment. If someone did not occupy himself with the study of Torah day and night in the physical world, he has nothing to eat in the world of the soul, even though he may have something to wear formed by the mitzvot he performs. So the mitzvot we do is more like a garment. You know how we will be dressed, we want to be classy, like respect, nice, sharp. So those are the mitzvot you do. How much of a king you are, how dressed, how much dignity you have in heaven. That depends on how you work. The idea of tzniut also has to do with that. In heaven, how you want to appear. Appear to someone that is dignified. And then because tzniut, the danger of tzniut, right, is that you become attached to the physicality and you dress for physicality, right? So it's almost like the covering of the Brit Milah for the woman's side, the physicality, but you focus on the physicality. No, being tzniut is being dignity, that you dress dignified. You look at someone like, wow, this is a holy or very special person. Honorable person, and those are the mitzvot. But the actual food of the soul, is the learning of Torah itself, is the understanding of the God's having God's consciousness. If someone did not occupy himself with the study of, no, okay, sorry, I read that. I saw that. The people will go out and gather each day's portion. So the people went out to get the man in the desert to get its portion. In paradise, the soul collects its daily reward and nourishment. Then it says, the entire community of the Israelites moved on from the desert of sin on their journeys according to the word of God. After receiving its reward in the lower level of paradise, the soul goes on to the upper level of paradise, referred to as Sinai. You understand how everything parallels? It's not one thing in Chumash we think, oh, it's nice going to Har Sinai. Oh, receive the Torah on the mountain. It's telling you how it works in heaven. It's that mountain called Sinai. In order to receive new levels of the Torah from the mouth of God, meaning in paradise is a place called Sinai, and based on how much you learn, you go there and you receive more. You go learn Torah from Har Sinai. You listen God's voice. What did they hear on Har Sinai? The voice of God. The letter Yud is added to Sin, which is the sin with the desert of sin, to give the name Sinai. Sin becomes Sinai. They encamped at Rephidim, but there was no water for the people to drink. Amalek then came and fought against Israel in Rephidim. So what happened? But before it ascends to the upper level of paradise, there is another type of purgatory, more subtle than the river of fire, that it must traverse in order to burn away those sins of the righteous that are as tenuous as a thread of hair. the gross sin had already been rectified by the lower purgatory. The higher one ascends in spirituality, the more the previous levels he was on appear to be gross and crass. Thus, at a high level, a person may come to consider a way of thinking or behaving he had previously considered spiritual or good to be egocentric or childish. In order to proceed to the higher perspective of reality, he must rid himself of the lower one, which he now found embarrassing or even shameful. Always think, oh, I now understand you, right? No, you don't understand anything. Let me show you what's the real thing. Oh, okay, now I understand. No, you don't understand. What you just understood is nothing compared to what you can understand. Really? Right? And it's going higher. And they say, Olam Haba is that. Olam Haba is level. If you're in this world, and in this world you constantly grow, you learn Torah, say, wow, now I understand what the Torah is talking. Now I understand what Hashem is making this one. I understand my mission. And you're growing, you're learning Torah, and you're more and more level. Then what's going to happen in Olam Haba? You're going to learn more, and you're going to more and go higher level and understand more. But if you're in this world and you don't learn any Torah, and you go through life like that, in Olam Haba, you're going to stay, you're not going to grow, you're going to be going on the same level. Right? The Olam Haba is a reflection of how you were here. If you want, you have to want to grow, you have to want to know more. The more you want and the more you grow, the more you get there. We're almost done. This is why God judges the righteous to the breadth of a string of hair. This is right. He says very common thing that why God is so strict with the righteous. One little thing they do, it's so strict. That corresponds to that thin thing of hair. The highest standard of being makes attitudes or action that would be normally considered innocuous. That's what I meant. Or even meritorious look depraved in the context of the life. This higher purgatory is called refidim, which alludes to the righteous whose hand grasp of the commandments was weak. According to the Talmud, the implication of the name Refidim is that there the Jews loosen the hand grip on the study of the Torah, for the word Refidim is derived from the root Rafeh, which means loose or weak. Last piece. This means that in Refidim the Jews did not perform God's commandments properly, but in laziness and unwillingly. Similarly, here the soul has already gained entrance to the lower level of paradise. But in order to enter the upper paradise, it must have performed mitzvah in the physical world with love. Guys, with great desire and will. That's what I just told you before. If you want the highest level, you have to want it. How much you want Hashem, guys? How much you want Torah? How much you want to get on the high level? How much you want to get high the right way? How much you want it? You wake up in the morning and say, God, I want to be close to you. God, I want to understand your Torah. God, I want to understand why I'm here. God, I desire, show me. I want to learn. I want to get higher. The more you are like that, the more you're going to experience that in heaven. It leaves the way you want to be living in Olam Haba. The more you live like that, like you're in Olam Haba, what would you do in Olam Haba? Say, God, I want more. God, I want to be close to you. God, I want to experience all. God, I want more. If you live in this world, you don't live like that. You want more. You want higher. You want faster, stronger, high. You're not going to get it there. So you live here the way you want to live in Olam Haba. That's why I tell every parent, if you want your kids to be humble yourself. If you want your kids not to get angry, don't get angry yourself. You don't want your kids to speak Lashon Hara, don't speak Lashon Hara. You have to be what you want the generations to come to be. It's the same thing. It received its punishment for not having done this in the upper purgatory, which is synonymous with Amalek, the highest level of impurity, the subtle fire that is perennially at war with Israel. Thus Amalek then came and fought against Israel in Rephidim, means because of Rephidim. Amalek is synonymous with uninspired, unenthusiastic preference of the God's commandments, as it is written, Amalek will cool you off on your way to receive the Torah. That Amalek is that thing. What is Amalek? We speak of Amalek. That Amalek comes attack us. Amalek is say, you do those mitzvot. You think you're accomplishing anything? Or you do mitzvot by rote. And it's just, second nature. Amalek is that thing. And that's why Amalek, what did Amalek do if someone was going out of the clouds, meaning they were protected by the clouds, someone sinned, and say it sinned with the, whatever, it was going out, so they will cut their bread and send it to Hashem. Why? What does that mean? Because what we just said, the Brit, when the Brit Milah, we take off the skin, right? This represents physicality, meaning that part that prevents us from being pure, being excited. It was covered. It was not sensitive. It was not excited, so to speak. So Amalek takes that thing and says, here, God, they don't care about, they don't want you. They're not excited. That place, the Brit Milah, is the place of desire, right? Yeah. He's saying, look, you Jews, they have no desire for you. They're not excited about you, mitzvot. They don't want to come close to you. They're not so excited. Here. Psh. You understand? And that's why the Brit Milah, and that's why as a Jew, the Brit Milah happens there, because the place of desire. You want to be close to God, you have to desire it like you desire a woman. This is really saying. This is why it's there. You want. That's why he says the Torah is your wife. You look at the Torah like that. You say, is that the Torah? Why do we dress the Torah? Because you have to learn how to dress a woman. They say you wear to dress the Torah is to dress a woman. The Glila, Akbar Glila, it says the highest honor of the Torah is not when you're called for an aliyah. It's when you dress the Torah at the end. The rest is aliyah. $6,000. Dude, the Glila is the most, right? It's the highest honor. You dressing the Torah, you honor the Torah. It's my wife. Hashem's daughter is the Torah, and we can marry her. You have to desire. You desire Torah, you get close. That's the whole thing. So guys, those are the secrets for this week, and hopefully we'll go in higher secrets next week.
Thank you.
So,